I'm really proud to be here today. I've had quite a long association with noise, and I'm going to say something about the connection between the council and noise later. But I think it's really important that we've got something like this in Manchester, because in Manchester we've got such a history of protest. It goes back a long way. You know, we had the riots quite recently, but we've been rioting and protesting against things in Manchester for quite a long time. And you can see a lot of that in the other parts of the museum. We can go back to Peterloo, the 16th of August, 1819, 80,000 people. It was the largest public gathering ever held in this country, were in Manchester to protest asking for parliamentary reform, basically asking for the right to vote, something that a lot of people take for granted these days. The crowd were allegedly out of hand. They weren't really. Everybody was dressed in their Sunday best. They'd marched in from all the towns around Manchester, and because the press had tried to say they were going to be an unruly, untidy, dirty mob, they all put their best clothes on and marched as one into the city centre. After the speeches started, they decided that they didn't want any of this sedition, and there was a cavalry charge ordered. 700 people were injured in that cavalry charge, and 15 people died while they were protesting for the right to vote. That was reported in the local paper, the Manchester Observer. The local paper was closed down 5 times for reporting Peterloo, and they established a new paper out of that, which they recommended their readers transfer to. It was the Manchester Guardian. Guardian we all know today, although I don't think it's quite as radical these days as it was originally intended to be. But also out of that, Shelley wrote a poem called The Mask of Anarchy. He wrote that, and it was considered so subversive and so likely to encourage people to revolt, it wasn't even allowed to be published until 13 years after Peterloo. It was finally published in 1832. So the people who believed that simply by reading a poem you could be incited to revolt, and I think that's fantastic. We've done other things as well. In 1862, on New Year's Eve, at the Free Trade Hall, just around the corner from here, cotton workers from the mills in Manchester and Lancashire decided they were going to write to Abraham Lincoln to say that they supported his fight against slavery. Some of them at the time were starving because there was no cotton coming through to the mills to actually enable them to do their jobs. Some of them were given food stamps, and there was a revolt by women and girls against being given food stamps when what they actually wanted was proper wages and cotton that they knew had been produced by people who were free. And we're also the city where in 1903, in the house on Grafton Street just by the hospital, Emmeline Pankhurst, her 2 daughters and some other women got together and formed the Women's Social and Political Union that we know today as the suffragette movement, who successfully campaigned for women to get the vote. And I've got quite a personal history. I was politicised through protest. When I was a teenager, the Reclaim the Night marches were going on that sadly we've seen again a couple of years ago about the right of women to walk the streets at night on their own, wearing what they want, behaving what they want, and being safe. And although I never got there because it seemed too impossibly glamorous for me, Greenham Common and campaigns against the arms trade that actually taught me a lot about my politics. I used to work for a newspaper, so I've been involved in a few protests, particularly against Rupert Murdoch, and I've not bought a Sun since the day the Wapping dispute started, which I think was 1982, and I'm never going to buy it again. One another thing I feel passionate about, demonstrations against the BNP and now against the EDL as well. It's only by people standing up and saying what they think that we're actually going to be able to finish these movements. But being politicised through protest meant I got involved in politics. And now I have absolutely no idea how this happened. I seem to have become a member of the establishment. And now I find some of the things that I do, people protest against me. And part of me thinks, I'm doing my best, I really am trying to make the right decisions. But when you go to a meeting and there's people outside with placards, the other part of me thinks, oh, that's brilliant. You know, disagree with me, challenge what I'm doing, what the council are doing, what politicians are doing, and make us really think, isn't there another way? Is what we're doing right? We have to be able to justify what we're doing, and challenge and protest is part of that. One of the things, however, about being part of the establishment means that you can help support things that you're really interested in, and I feel quite passionately about noise and some of the work that they're doing. The creative digital arts section in Manchester and the North West is really growing. It's one of the fastest growing sectors there is. And what Noise is about is giving young people a chance to actually work in that industry, to build their portfolios, to build their skills, regardless of their background. If you've got enough money, if you've got rich parents, you know you can pretty much do what you want to do. But what Noise is all about is giving everybody that chance that people with money have and helping them to do it. And this is part of it. Denise, who's part of the team that runs Noise and is possibly one of the most difficult people I know to actually say no to about anything, asked us to help, asked the council to help, and we supported Noise through the 10 local authorities in Manchester. I'm really proud of that. There's some fantastic things here today. I'm really glad that out of the original project has grown this exhibition. I've completed my placard. If you want to protest, fill yours in as well, be part of it and support it. Thanks very much.